Good morning, Sean here, Mountains Garage. I'm still out here messing with shifters, as tends to happen in my life. If I do one, I'll end up doing a half a dozen or something, which kind of makes it handy, because you got all the tools out and the knowledge is fresh in your mind. I had a few more questions about the vertical gate shifters here, so let's address that. This is the first long shifter I got 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and it was just a shifter. And if you watched my other video on the Hurst shifter rescue, you watched me making rods and arms and brackets. So this one I had to build everything. I had nothing to go by other than some internet pictures and some pictures a buddy of mine sent me, and it came out pretty good. I learned a lot, and through that transaction, like I mentioned in that video, I got a second one. And other than the reverse arm being absolutely butchered, I don't know why, it looks pretty nice. These rods are actually stainless. Other than that, it's very similar to what I built, and it's going to be good. Requires no work, really. This is the Mr. Gasket that you saw in the other video. I actually posted it for sale because, as tends to happen, I was on eBay, and next thing you know, you're bidding on another Mr. Gasket shifter. This one was misrepresented as fitting a T10 and a Muncie, but I could see in the picture that it had B-body Mopar arms, rods, and bracket, which is pretty valuable. They didn't make these to fit every vehicle on Earth, so I actually recently found the instructions online last night, and that's definitely B-body Mopar, and it showed up Saturday in the mail. Within an hour, I had everything cleaned up and posted back on eBay, so hopefully recoup some of my money for this shifter. The shifter itself, I did the usual, clean it up, painted the bottom of it, and it didn't have a reverse knob, so I built that. And right now I'm waiting for, this time instead of using steel or aluminum, I went with stainless arms. If you ever spend a lot of time working with stainless, wonderful stuff. When it's done, it'll outlast you. You'll be dead and gone, and your stainless parts will still be around. However, drilling, tapping, machining, it is hard. No need to hide them when you're done. But the best advice I ever got working with stainless, I used to work on highway sanders. And there was an old guy there that spent his life in a cannery making stainless canning equipment, that when you drill stainless or machine stainless, you turn the bit slow and you push hard. You always apply as much pressure as you physically can without stalling the machine, because once you let off the pressure, you're going to dull your bit. So push hard, turn slow, and when it's done, it's fantastic. It shines up nice, and again, it'll last forever. I'm waiting for the UPS, the FedEx truck and the mail truck to bring me some 3/8 jam nuts, nylocks that are thin, because I need to gain clearance here. This isn't finished. So I can turn the bolt around, put the jam nut on the inside, move this rod in closer to get rid of make a smaller spacer here, and machine that down because I don't want to get into the floorboard there. So when that shows up, I'll be able to finish this one. Let's go to the other side of the table. This is the Hurst shifter that we saved in the video. It's pretty neat. Going to be cool, but I was thinking that if I look through my scrap, I should probably take a whack at building a handle for it. A lot of people like to do that. I mentioned all the options, but I didn't really talk about it. So this one is curved. I tend to like them straight and shorter, like this is the factory Super Shifter one. So my wife and I have a project. It's going to be her car. It's a 39 Pontiac, and it came with this homemade monster. It weighs about 10 pounds, but it has the correct Hurst. Well, somebody cut off a Hurst shifter with the serrations that face the driver's side of your shifter and actually lock in. They're not necessarily a must-have. Most of the aftermarket shifters you buy that'll fit a Hurst shifter just have 2 3/8 holes. That is totally overkill. It's sandwiched in with 2 plates in between it. It's never going anywhere. But this happens to have the serrations. And this end has a Harley Davidson foot peg. It's very heavy, but it's got some welding on it. We'll leave it at that. Sometimes, I'm going to put this in front of the camera. This came with one of the Mr. Gasket shifters. Now, I don't like to laugh at stuff like this because somebody did their best, much like this. They were doing their best. And I'm not the greatest at everything. I do my best. So I chose not to use that, but somebody at some point, you know, in the last 50 years, and it was probably he took on the project, he did his best. And like this one, we're going to cut that off. I'm going to cut that off, and I think I can probably even make 2 shifters out of it. I'm going to save that piece and make one out of the straight piece. I don't know if what I'm going to do, how I'm going to attach a handle. I may thread it. But I'm going to make a few cuts and I'll get back with you. Okay, we've slayed the dragon. And we're going to use that piece, and maybe that. I haven't cut that cool bend off the end, and that was the correct size to run a 7/16 course die over it. So now I have a way to attach the handle instead of welding. This is going to be welded on there. This I ground off, but if you see this stuff here, sometimes when I'm going to TIG weld it, you never know what kind of mysteries are going to come bubbling out of that. But in this case, I'm going to use it. I'm going to drill and tap that. Still pretty heavy. I might make one out of aluminum. I need to make a jam nut. Let's go over in the lathe and I'll show you what I'm going to do. We're at my Logan lathe. I'm the second owner of this beautiful 1967 unit. I believe I'm the only one that ever used it a lot. I bought it from the family of the old man that passed away. The only thing that was wrong with it was this handle right here. And that, believe it or not, you can still buy parts for this. I didn't buy it from this company, but they're still open. Here we are. This is 1967. They're still selling stuff. So here we are in the 3-jaw chuck, and all I've done, nothing fancy. There's lots of ways to do this, but I just got a 7/16 bolt and a nut captured in the jaws, and then I tighten this one onto that. The lathe is going to spin this way, so it's always in the tightening mode, and I'm just going to cut that down about half size so I got a jam nut, because I don't have a lot of threads to work with. And that big nut just looks dumb on there anyway, so let's cut her off. Alright, so I got my lock nut reduced and I chamfered it a little bit. If this was going inside a ball, you need a little bit of clearance, but that should be fine. On this end, I've cut a little groove in it, done a little fitting, so that's ready to weld. The foot peg turned into a house of horrors. It's full of rubber and everything else, so I'm going to weld the nut on the outside. I may not use it, but I've come this far, I might as well do something with it. I'm going to TIG weld everything only because the only way to get better at it, which I need to be, is to practice. So I just try to TIG weld everything. I could MIG weld this in seconds, and I've been doing that for decades, but I've been TIG welding for 8 or 10 years, so the only way to get better is to practice. So I'll be back. Okay, I don't know if it means I'm super thrifty, but when you hang on to little pieces of TIG rod with pliers, you're probably cost conscious. So it came out pretty good. Then the hand, see, I don't know if I'm going to use that handle or not, but all in all, might be still warm even. Before I burn myself, got the old Harley emblem on it. Pretty nice for a piece of junk. Might be a paperweight. Or I might make one out of aluminum. We'll see. Thanks for following along. Oh yeah, one more thing, like everybody else says, like and subscribe. I'm just getting going, and I'm hoping to get enough followers to make it worthwhile. Thanks again.